streets, they glow tonight. Questions buzzing in the light. Shayon's got answers cool and clear. Traffic truths you'll wanna hear. Ask a traffic cop after dark, lighting up your mind like a spark. Rules of the road with a chill vibe, cruising knowledge on this late night ride. Brake lights flash under the moon. Sean's wisdom cuts through the gloom. Relaxed and fun with a steady tone. He makes the road feel like home. Ask a traffic cop after dark, lighting up your mind like a spark. Rules of the road with a chill vibe, cruising knowledge on this late night ride. From stop signs to
Okay,
speeding
it appears as though we are live everywhere except Instagram. No, Instagram's not working. Do I bother telling tech support? Yeah, maybe I should. I've been so busy with tech support lately that I am kind of like tired of talking to tech support. Let's see, send a message. Something's not working. Yes, what is not working? Instagram's not working. That's what's not. Instagram is not working again. It was like for weeks it was not working. Hey, it's Judy again, working again. We're live stream. And she says, "Welcome back." Yes, we were working on a different problem. Restream's amazing. I've got to say, I've been using Restream for years, and I am thoroughly impressed with everything they do. However, sometimes there's problems, and that's kind of with anything. Whenever there's a problem, or whenever there's software, there's constantly different things changing, going on. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, stream key. Yes, indeed. Okay. We'll let that keep going. Hope you're doing well. It's been a while. It's been a whole week. I was live last Tuesday. Couldn't go live on Wednesday as I had originally planned, but I'm back and I want to answer your traffic and police questions. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And I do it right here on social media. It's so that I can, still make a difference, still help to keep the roads safe. And that's my goal. That is why I do what I do. And, I got to say that I'm doing it on the comfort of my basement where the air conditioning is cool. I mean, it's cool upstairs, but it's cold in the basement, actually. Let's see here. What does it say? I got a message back. Can you try and update it from your home screen instead? Look for the studio. I'm currently live. Currently live. Will that cause an issue? Cause a problem for my stream. Let's see if we can get on Instagram. I want to. Let's see. I can't get out of the stream because I'm in the stream. It's a problem. Hey, Paul Elliott, how you doing? Boy Mom 8424, how you doing? Jinx the Dead jumped into the live. Yannick Regis is here, and 3 viewers that didn't log on, so I don't have the name. Hot is a username that's in the username in the room. In the room. If you're here and you got questions, drop them in the comments. We're pretty chill. Peter just dropped in along with Raptors fan. How's it going? If you're coming in from the other platforms, because we're simultaneously streaming on TikTok, YouTube, X. I'd like to say Instagram, but it's not working, as well as LinkedIn. So wherever you are, you can message us and we will see you. Dan Renwick says, my kind of copper. I'm not sure why I'm your kind of copper, but I'm glad that I'm your kind of copper. I don't know, it's the beard, but I'm also the retired kind. So no longer a police officer. I just play one on TV. Most specifically, this show, which is called Ask a Traffic Cop. Though I'm no longer a cop, I have all that cop experience, and I share it with you all the time. Normally, it's a 5 days a week kind of thing, and now it was one day last week, 2 days usually. It's that summertime vibe. I'm out there doing stuff and things. Some very exciting stuff coming down the pipe. I got an email I got to respond to that cool things are happening, and then cool things are happening in my laboratory. Yes, I am a 3D printing nerd. Amongst other things, I also do the laser kind of cutting and engraving kind of stuff because I like making stuff. I'm a maker, and this is what I made recently. It's not the right colors. This was my first sample. I didn't, but this is a version of my badge, and this is a 3D printed light box. I thought this was such a cool concept, so I printed it on my printer, and I found some issues with it. Then I took it in my car, and it didn't do well in the heat. It actually shrank a bit, and it was really freaking hot last week. So don't leave PLA in a car when it's hot. I can tell you for certain it's a bad idea. Uh, yeah, let's see if tech support. What does tech support want me to do? Stand by. I'm currently that will. Oh, sorry. I'm currently live. I meant to say. I said I'm currently. Will that cause? I'm currently live streaming. Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, please like and follow. If you don't already follow me, please do and share the live. When more people bring more questions. More questions means a more interesting episode. But yeah, I'm answering traffic and police questions for an hour, and then I want to go watch Bosch Legacy. Legacy. I think it's about Bosch Legacy. Um, and here's the deal with Bosch Legacy. If you don't already know Bosch, the original series was phenomenal, like phenomenal. And then the continuation was he retires and his daughter becomes a cop. And season one of the Legacy kind of sucked. I'm not a big fan of the daughter's character. Eh. But now they've got 3 seasons out, and I've got nothing else to watch. So I went back and watched season 2, episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I got to season or episode 4 because it's good. Season 1, I think, sucked. At least that's my memory of it. Season 2, I'm enjoying, and I'm looking forward to finding out if I love or hate season 3. Just saying. Okay. Let's see. Dan says, wait for your Agar appearances. Right on. Dan catches me on air. I generally meet up with Jerry Agar every other Wednesday to jump on his show, and he jumps on this show, and that's one of the reasons I go live at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. Although I haven't reached out to him about tomorrow, or he hasn't reached out to me, so I don't know if I'm going to be on the air tomorrow. We'll just have to find out. Okay. 2K is on the magical TikTok and says or asks, they ask, can you ride a motorcycle with a GoPro? And the answer is, yeah, you can. You can ride well, okay, wait, there's a caveat. You can ride a motorcycle with a GoPro on your helmet. However, you cannot ride your motorcycle with a GoPro on your helmet. So if you have it on your motorcycle, did I say that wrong? If you have it mounted to your bike, you're cool. Have a GoPro. No, fill your boots. However, if you are on your motorcycle, you cannot have it on your helmet. And it's the helmet that, and it has created such a pain in the tush, and that is, I had someone call me up and say, "You can't do that. You can't. It's not allowed. You can't tell people that you can't have." They were so butthurt that I suggested that you could not have a camera on your helmet. I'm multitasking really poorly here as I'm copying stream keys and adding channels. And let's see here. We've re-added it. Cool. Following tech support. This is talking, reading, typing all at the same time. It is a skill that I don't know if anyone has mastered, but I've certainly not. An error occurred. Why did it occur? It still occurred. It still occurred. Okay, wait. This might screw things up, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm gonna try it because why not? Turn off mic, turn off this. Okay, I don't want to break it, but here we go. We're gonna try one more time. Saving. Is it working? Turning on the switch. Sending data? I'm getting a weird loop. Maybe you can hear my loop. If it works, we're cool. If it doesn't work, it says streaming. Hey, it worked. Okay. We are now on Instagram. Okay, I'll close that window so we don't have the duple. The duple? Hang on. Why am I hearing myself again? Okay. Come on. Oh, wait. Closing that. Come on, close the window. Close the window. There we go. Ah, it worked and it worked. I'm just gonna let tech support know that, and then I can focus all my attention back on y'all. JC De Los Rios. Hey, yo, how's it going, brother? Good to see you. He's on YouTube. A retired guy, just like me, except he's he's living the life. Okay, it worked. Thanks for the tip. Just letting tech support know. JC, it's good to see you. We got to get together for a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, or something. Good to see you. Brandon says, "Hello, Sean and all from Orlando. Hope you had a fantastic day." I did have a fantastic day. Very cool things. I was busy from morning right until the show, and it was fantastic. Got to see some friends, had some great business meetings, had some good emails. All around, nothing to complain about other than I'm not in Orlando with you doing restaurant and food stuff. Although I do want to talk to you about some restaurant and food stuff because I was kind of doing restaurant and food stuff today. Wayne says, "Good evening, Sean." Actually, I'm putting words in his mouth. He just said evening, Sean. I added the good. But there was an exclamation point, so it must be good. Finishing off, going back to the whole can you ride with a GoPro? Helmets are designed to save your melon on impact, but they're also designed to glide across the ground and burn up along the way. Like they don't do well when they're traveling at 100 kilometers an hour, grinding the side of it across the asphalt. But a GoPro, when mounted on the side, creates something that could, well, be fatal. It could be really, really bad. And when you add something physically to the shell of the helmet, you invalidate its certification. You make it not certified. So if it was certified to be safe for the road the way you got it out of the box and you mess with that, it's no longer. And that's it. If you put something like a communicator and it goes in to the space between the foam and the shell and then sort of hangs out above it, that's a gray area. You've not affixed it to the shell. It's in front of the shell. And there are some, I have one somewhere. It basically clips to the front and just sticks up, and then the camera kind of floats in front of you. I could argue that in court either way. I may not win, but I could argue in support of it or against it. I think the law uh, would have a loophole for that. I think you would be able to get away with using that. Hey, Sonia Bizarro, how's it going? Or Bizarro Sonia. Let's see. We have Butch's Baja. Okay, well, they want to know if they can remove the catalytic converter from their car. He wants to install a different downpipe on the vehicle. You got to have a catalytic converter if your vehicle was designed and sold with a catalytic converter. You can put a new one in, a freer breathing one, but you got to have a catalytic converter. Okay, let's go to Paul, who says, "Woohoo, gotta love the intro music, kind of 80s, 90s vibe, like Knight Rider Baywatch feel." And Paul, that's exactly what I was going for. I love it so much that even though it calls me Shay On in the song, I stick with it because it's a cool song. I was asking, and I kind of went for the Miami Vice vibes for this whole design backdrop. I like it. I like it a lot. So I kept it. Uh Gurvadi says, "Will I get pulled over intentionally for a tint? Will I get pulled over intentionally for a tint? Any certain percentage on front windows that cops let slide?" Well, legally, if they can see inside and identify you, they'll not have an issue with it because it's legal. If it's so dark that they can't see inside, you are in trouble. I mean, you pose a risk for for being pulled over and charged. If you can't see in, you're out of there. And if it's over 30%, you could have your license plates pulled for an unsafe motor vehicle, along with the charge for unsafe motor vehicle, which you do not want. I guarantee you. All good now. Just like check tech support just wants to make sure I'm good. All good now. Thanks. All right. Closing the window. What do we got here? So will you get pulled over intentionally? That's what happens when a cop pulls you over. It's intentional. They're pulling you over. So you run the risk whenever you have tint that is more than the legal limit. Now, if you have, let's say, 30% max and your windows are absolutely clear, so 30% plus zero, uh, you know, uh, further reduction of light transmission, you could be legal during the day, but illegal at night because there's a separate charge. So you have the charge for unsafe motor vehicle for having more than what's legal. And then you have a charge for, uh, so how's the word? What is it called? It is called obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective coating. That's what it's called. And if you can't be seen at night, but you could be seen during the day, well, at night it's not legal because you can't obscure it. And that tint or color reflective or coating or whatever you put on it has made it not possible to see inside. Thus, it's not legal, which is a big shock, right? Now, if you get pulled over, that's a $110 ticket. It doesn't necessarily result in you losing your license plates, but it's still a crappy thing to have happen. Let's see here. Hey, if you're watching, regardless of the platform, please like and share and follow me on whatever platform you're on. And please do me a solid. Please go to VoiceOver Cop on YouTube. Follow me there. I'm trying to hit 1,000 followers, and I would really appreciate your help. Bush Outdoors Canada says Sean Shapiro is in the house. Great to see you live. We sit in the house. I had to be the DJ button. Thanks so much, Sean Bush from Bush Outdoors. If you want a watch from Marathon, you should look this guy up. Marathon watches, and I plug them all the time because I love their watches, and I got to connect with them. They're an amazing watch. Military watch, a legit designed in Canada military watch that serves U.S. and Canadian forces and police services all over. In fact, you could only buy them if you were military or police for a very long time. When I first wanted one, that's the story. And I just never got around to getting one, and I still haven't gotten around to getting one. I need to get one. Yeah, but you can get one by contacting him. You can't buy them everywhere. They're still a hard to get watch because they're just not as mainstream, and that's partially what makes them so cool. Let's see here. Perony says, I see people driving with front glass tinted that I cannot even see them. And that's totally illegal. That is totally illegal. You cannot have any tint on your front windshield. Zero, zilch, nada, none. Nine. Nothing you cannot have. It's illegal. You cannot have it. You will get a ticket. You will lose your license plates for it because that is unsafe. In fact, we've had people just peel the tint roadside. And of course, I have to address the fact that some Mercedes and some Mercedes and Benz, same thing, and Beamers have been seen on the road with a greenish tint. And it's alleged that green tint lives inside of the barrier between two panes of glass. And it is not a coating or a film that is added aftermarket. And it is part of a factory treatment in the manufacture of their glass. And that is how they get away with it. Because if it's a coating, they certainly cannot. Okay. Peter says, hi, Sean. Hi, Peter. How you doing? I may have said hello to you already. Alex says, hey, Sean, if I pull into a parking lot and an officer boxes me in without lights, is that a legal stop? You were pulled, so you were driving on the road. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. If they're investigating you and they have reason to believe that you could flee and they box you in, yeah, it's legal. The legality isn't whether they turn their lights on. The legality is whether they had a reason to stop and investigate you, right? So if you drove a motor vehicle and they were suspecting you of anything, in fact, they just wanted to check if you were licensed, could they box you in? Sure, they could. They are minimizing the risk to the public if you decide to flee. And if they have, for whatever reason, right or wrong, believe that you could be someone who wants to run away and prevent from being, investigated, then they're going to take preventative measures to ensure the safety of all. Hey, Greg, I see that you threw some coins my way. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I didn't see the animation. I did see it show up because you are my top viewer according to this. And thank you for the gift. And there's another gifter that I don't see here. They came and they've left, and I don't see what they did, but I appreciate them nonetheless. Anything you give me doesn't go to me. It goes for the Canadian. It goes to Better Traffic, which is the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Safety and Education, which is what's putting on this show, which is where we get sponsorship and assistance to keep the lights on, to pay for the software that does the streaming, to make it all possible. What am I doing? I'm just the guy talking, but there are bigger things happening. We're trying to make roads safer across Canada, and anything you give us is helpful. So whether you're online doing that, or if you go to askatrafficcop.ca and you want to buy us a coffee or make a contribution by way of PayPal. There's tons of ways you can do it. Or if you're a corporate person and you decide that you just want to fund a program, like the people at the Magical Diamond and Diamond, their personal injury lawyers, and they said, "We want you on our show, and we want to help support you," and they do that by contributing to the organization, which is a not-for-profit organization. I started it when I left the service, and it's been going well. All right, Shane says, "Hi, hypothetical." Hold on, I got to scroll back. There's 44 new messages popped up afterward. There's a big sign that says 44 new messages. All right, going back, going back. Here we go. Where are we? Come on, now it says one new message right over where. Give me 1 second, trying that again. Hi, hypothetically, if I'm a G1 driver and get caught without a driver, what could happen? Shane, this is one of my favorite questions. Enough of that. The question is, if I'm driving with a G1 license and I don't have the qualified supervising G-class driver in the passenger seat with the appropriate amount of alcohol, meaning 0 or at least under 0.05 BAC, which means legal to drive and supervise, what could happen to that driver? Well, G1 unaccompanied is a charge. It's $110. On conviction, you get a 30-day suspension. On a second conviction, a 90-day suspension. On a third conviction, you get kicked out of the licensing program, the graduated licensing program altogether, which means you're done. You're cooked, and you start again. And it's not a good look. I will say that. I really wish I had a bottle of water here. Stand by. Stand by. I'm putting you on music for 1 second. That was fast because I had the bottle of water. I just didn't see it. Okay. I was going to get up and walk, and it was just going to be messy in front of the green screen. All right. What do we go here? So the first thing is the $110 fine. Second, you are looking at, well, potential problems for both the person who owns the car. If you borrowed the car from somebody and they knew you were a G1 licensed driver, they could be charged a $110 fine. If they didn't know that, if you weren't honest about the status of the license, or if they didn't give you permission, well, now you're talking about take vehicle without consent, and it could be criminal charges laid. It's just a bad day at the office. You'd also not be driving home because your vehicle would have to get towed. And again, bad day at the office. Just don't do that. If you're a G1, be a G1 and drive whilst supervised by a qualified driver that has at least 4 years experience with their G2 and G combination. So they have to have a G, but they could have up to 4 years. They must have at least 4 years experience, and that could be a combination of G and G2 time. G1 time doesn't count. All right. A followed the host. Thanks so much. A. Marco. Marco wants to know. He's coming in from YouTube. Says Marco Gardonio says, "Is it illegal to flash your high beams to warn drivers of police ahead?" Kind of, sorta. It's Here's the deal. Flashing your high beams for a legitimate purpose for safety could be justified and would not have a ticket laid for it. The deal with specifically flashing to say that there's police, I don't know why you're flashing, but if you could be flashing to say, hey, your lights are off. There's no other way to really get that message across. So would that get you a ticket? Possibly, maybe. But forget about tickets for a second. I just want to let you know about the morality of it. See, tickets, or at least enforcement, is there to slow people down, to keep people safe, to hold people accountable. If you warn a speeder, or a human trafficker for that matter, that police are ahead, they change their driving habits to avoid detection, and they continue past the police, avoiding the stop that could either save lives by changing driver behavior, or save lives because they've got someone in the car that wants to get out desperately but is being taken somewhere, and against their will. There's all sorts of scenarios, and people roll their eyes. Yeah. You wouldn't believe how many people get caught with guns because of speeding. They get caught with drugs because of speeding. They get caught as drunk drivers because of speeding. We take people off the street as police all the time, and it was just because they're driving. Traffic safety has a huge overlap with criminality. Someone who doesn't follow one set of rules likely doesn't follow another set of rules. And it's funny how that intersects into not only tickets, behavior changes, but bad guys going to jail. So even if you didn't get a ticket for it, You have to live with the fact that you're making roads less safe if you're doing it. But yeah, we could talk more about that anytime. It's one of my favorite topics. Well, all this is my favorite topic. All right. Oh, Alex got a ticket for driving G1 unaccompanied, but only got hit once because that $110 and 30-day suspension must have really made an impact. And he went on to say the fine and suspension period increases. Yeah. Greg says, "Hey, Sean, love your show. Can you explain zipper merging and is it a thing?" Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is a thing. And it's one of the best things. It's the favorite thing. I wish more people did that thing. Zipper merge is where you use the entirety of the on ramp lane. See, when you get on the highway, you have this entire ramp, and people seem to think that you have to merge immediately as soon as you get on the highway, which generally causes a horrible backup all the way down the on ramp. And it's not how you're supposed to drive. You're supposed to use the whole bloody on ramp because that's what it was designed to do. You go there, and then at the end, you let every other person in, right? You let someone in, the person behind you let somebody in. Use zipper. Picture the zipper on your jeans. If you look at the teeth of the zipper, they merge until the zipper is closed. It's a simple concept. What we have here is you have cars, and instead of zipper merging, they just go, yeah, and then they have everybody else waiting up here. It's a mess. It's an absolute anarchy mess. And I hate it. I can't stand watching people do it wrong. I will pass them and continue and zipper merge at the end. Now, some people get really ornery about those who zipper merge, thinking that, how dare you pass me on the on ramp? I mean here, and you're going to be 5 car lengths in front of me, and that ain't fair. Those people need to just to get over themselves. Pathetic. I watched a video of a camper like almost running a guy off the road because he was trying to zipper merge. How dare you pass me? It's sad. It's so sad. Anyway, go on about zipper merges all day long. What do we got here? So hopefully that covers your question. I'd love to see more people zipper merge, and it is a thing. And there's signs in London, Ontario, and I have pictures of it because Melody, the magical Melody, the mechanic, who I just connected with yesterday, we went for coffee because she was passing through on her way on her drive from McMullen Appliances through Toronto, connected with the voiceover cop, and continued on her way. Once she finishes her season of baseball, she's going to join the show and answer traffic. Well, she's going to answer mechanic questions on Ask a Traffic Cop. I guess it's going to be Ask a Traffic Cop and occasionally a mechanic. But whatever. She took a picture of me. No, we took a picture together when we got together for coffee. However, she took a picture when she was in London of the zipper merge photo or signs on the road in London, which I was thoroughly impressed with. And I will have to share that now on social media. Okay. Okay, got that. Shane says, no, we're moving along. We already got that. User 69, it's a very original number, says, if I land my plane on the 407 during an emergency, do I need to pay a toll? Very good question for which I do not have an answer. I don't know. I don't think you have a transponder, and I don't think in an emergency situation, you might have to pay a lot of other fines as to how you ended up where you ended up. But that's a different story. We got Stephen Bell, who says, hi, Sean, how are you? How are you? How are you your evening? How are your evening? Sometimes I'm reading exactly what's written and it doesn't work. And then my brain goes upside down and backwards. And says, why are you saying? But Stephen Bell, who's in London, Ontario, is saying, hey, and he's a regular on the show and we appreciate you. I'm doing well. I'm having a great day. And the air conditioning is working in my home and my auto. And that means it's awesome, even though it's not that hot right now. Brandon says, I get told all the time to straight pipe both my cars. I always reply, I like my cars to be nice to look at, not annoying to hear. Also like both to be legal. It's a very good point. I don't like, when I was a young man, I put a stereo, I had a speaker box in the trunk. I wanted to be cool. Everyone wanted to be cool. It was high school. And we all put stereos in. Like that was the first thing you did when you got a ride. You had to make it your own. I don't give a crap what I drive anymore. It has to be comfortable. It has to have towing capacity. It has to have cargo capacity. I don't tint it. I don't customize it. I don't, nothing. Nothing. And I give it back to that. It's no longer a personal thing. I get there's an urgency or an eagerness to customize and represent and express oneself through their wheels. I don't have that. Now, I didn't have that with the motorcycle. My motorcycle, I put a custom saddle, a custom, different. I relate to the car stuff, but I don't do it anymore because I'm old. So that's a thing. All right. Ooh. There's too many entitled drivers for the zipper lane to work. It's supposed to work. It makes traffic better. I totally, yeah, there's entitlement is a problem. Okay. We got, oh. Oh, we got roses from Deep Daddy, and Greg sent a hat. I don't know what these things look like. Unfortunately, I've got like Control Central here, and I got a big 34-inch widescreen and a second 16-inch screen here, and then I have a smaller version sitting here on my phone, which I'm currently moderating using because I different controls and different platforms, and that's the joy of doing all this that I do, which is multi-platform streaming. Okay, let's see what we got on the Instagram since we got you guys working. Uber guys driving with fully tinted their car, you cannot even see the driver. That's, yeah, gross. Listen, when I was on the road as a cop, I would pull someone over for that. Oh my goodness, Kurt, Captain Kurt, he's back. Where you been, brother? I keep looking for you. Captain Kurt is back and forth. He's around at the in the Barrie area at the magical King of the North auction house, which I am a frequent flyer, and he is there, and I've not seen him in ages. So I hope you're doing well. Reach out and say hey. We'll have to connect. Okay. Sarboss says, I was in the US last summer. They use the zipper lane merge in construction zones. It worked like a treat because it works just like your zipper on your pants. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. Hey, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And if you've got questions, I have answers. And if you don't get your answers tonight, because for whatever reason I don't get to your question, because once the clock chimes 10, I'm going to try and pack it in and watch another episode of Bosch Legacy. But if you want that question answered, you can go to askatrafficcop.ca. There's a button on the right-hand side of the screen that says, leave me a voicemail. I'll respond to a voicemail directly. I might even use it in a further a upcoming show or some social media. So if you got a really good question, you should share it because that's how it works. What do we got here? I don't know if I have a moderator watching because they might be removing certain things that I see. Sometimes I do have people helping me out. Cool. I think I do have moderators working, which is good. Moderators are good. Alex had a question we answered. Why do some officers not like being filmed? That's Lewis or Louis who's asking. I don't know. I've never had a problem with the camera at all. If you're interfering with my investigation, that's different. You put a camera in my face and you're not involved, I'm going to ask you to leave. If you don't listen, you might get yourself arrested. If you are the person who's being investigated, listen, I've got a camera, you got a camera, the car's got a camera, every officer's got a camera. I have no problem with cameras. We're not hiding anything. Cameras are the best thing since sliced bread. They exonerate police officers from these useless allegations that everyone makes, saying that there's things going on that shouldn't be going on, when usually it's someone who's just trying to interfere with being caught. So I don't know. I've never met anybody who's got a problem with cameras, except in the very beginning. Like when they first got introduced, people were like, I don't like it. People are going to use it against me. And it turned out to be the best thing. And I don't think you'll find a copper on the road who has a problem with a camera today. I just watch all the dash cam footage and body cam footage coming out of the States. I mean, you get a sheriff or a police chief where there's an allegation against the coppers, and 10 seconds later, they are posting that shit. Oh, yeah. They are posting that all over the internet, and it makes the bad guy look bad because it justifies everything the cops do. So I don't know anybody who has a problem with it, other than maybe they don't like that the camera adds 10 pounds or 20 for some. Abdullah says, man, the US have better laws than us. What laws are better in the States than here? I can think of a few, but some things, I don't know. It's perspective, because I know a lot of people who would prefer to be here than in the States and vice versa. All right. Paul says, LOL, you know how dispatch feels multitasking. True multitasking heroes they are. And I absolutely agree with you. I could not do that job. And this is Paul's comment, which no doubt was when I was talking to tech support at the beginning of the show. I was having a little issue getting Instagram to work, and Instagram could be flighty. But yes, trying to do a couple of things simultaneously is a lot harder than you think. We don't actually multitask, which is why using your cell phone while driving is so bloody dangerous. We are doing one thing, then switching and doing another, then switching and doing another, and it can happen very quickly. But you're not doing all things at all times. You're fooling yourself if you think you're a multitasker. And people do think, like people put on resumes, excellent multitasker, because they're full of crap and they don't know what they're talking about. Although maybe it could be true for those who have pedals to control mouse clicks. Like they have dispatchers are a different breed. They can do wild stuff. Bretsky says, I haven't seen you in a while. Last time I saw you, you were still a police officer. Did you retire? Yes, I did retire from policing. I didn't retire. I just left well in advance of when I could have gone. I should have stayed for 8 years, and I question daily whether or not I did the right thing. And then I go through the motions of calculating why I did what I did, and it was for family. And I always come out on top saying I did the right thing, but there was a cost. And that cost is I miss my policing career. I miss my colleagues. I miss doing what I did, which is one of the reasons I'm giving back by doing what I'm doing right now, because I get to contribute to road safety, and I'm doing it because I like doing it, not because of any other reason. And I started a not-for-profit to help make roads safer because I want to make roads safer. It doesn't mean that I have to be paid as a police officer to do it. But that's it. QJazz58 says, just ordered a Mini 3 drone. Hopefully it comes in soon. A Mini 3? Mini 3? They're about to release the Mini 5 Pro. And in fact, I have a so I have a bit of a drone problem in that I have like 5 of them right now. And I'm not using all of them. That's I'm about to list one on Marketplace, I think. So as I get away from traffic for 5 seconds, I had the Mini 3 Pro. I got an Avata 2 after flying someone else's Avata 1 and went, wow, FPV is cool. And then I got what did I get after that? I got a Neo, which is an itty bitty FPV-ish drone, similar. Anyway, for those who don't know and don't care, it's a little one, 135 gram, I think. Then I got a Mini 4 Pro, another Mini 4 Pro because I needed a spare, sold the Mini 3 Pro. Then I sold one of the Mini 4 Pros because I got an Air 3S, which is a dual camera. Anyway, it's a bigger drone. Now I have one. I bought a lot of batteries. I have, because I do a lot of car cinematography or stuff with another creator, and I needed a lot of juice to be in the air for a long time. So I have a Mini 4 Pro with 2 battery hubs, 9 batteries, 6 of which are the extended batteries. I could fly all day. But I think I'm going to sell that one because I just don't. With the Avata, which I use is for the Go Fast drone, and the Air 3S, I have too many drones. I actually have too many. I'd love the 4 Pro, by the way. Okay, moving back on. But good luck. I hope your 3 shows up. Waleed says, do you guys have rear cameras actively recording? And when you say you guys, do you mean the police? When a prisoner, well, there's a difference. There's cameras in the car, front and back. There's one inside the car facing the compartment. And there's one facing out the front. I only think there's the 2 cameras. I don't think there's a rear, but the rear passenger compartment might catch behind. In any case, that's generally not activated unless there's a collision or there's a prisoner in the back and they activate it manually. That's my understanding. Let's see here. Sam says, is cutting through a plaza instead of taking the right turn on the lights illegal? Oddly enough, this question has only started to come up of late. Like years ago, I didn't get this question more than once a year. Now I've got it like 6 or 7 times. Entering private property, which is legal, and then choosing not to stay there is legal, assuming you are doing the in-between safe. So if you were to turn into a gas station, look at the price, and change your mind, there's nothing that by law that says you couldn't do what you did. You do have to come to a stop before crossing a sidewalk. You do have to come to a stop before entering a roadway. You have to merge from private drive safely. So there's a couple of tickets that you could earn because you're being reckless. You can be careless as you drive through the parking lot. If you're doing it as a high speed thing, you could be putting yourself at risk and of tickets and of collision. Oh, let's see here. What's the culture like in the break room? I don't think anyone's in the break room. Everyone's in their personal office, a police car. Break room is like a thing of the past. We had them. I've never really seen anybody except for retirements and going aways and, uh, you know, uh, milestone stuff, birthdays. Very, yeah, the break rooms aren't really a thing. Oh, Brandon says he likes driving in the States more than in Ontario. I wonder why. Steven says, I ride my bike and do all the hand signals, turn left and right, and drivers still honk at me because drivers be drivers, and there's this animosity against cyclists. And when you're doing it all right, they still think you're doing it wrong. Dallas Sutton says, hello, Sean. Can you please explain the jurisdiction of railway police? I see them pull over and I wonder what they're doing or looking for. Um, Really quick, they have 500 meters around any equipment or railway. So 500 meters around any railway crossing or intersection, their property, their jurisdiction extends 500 meters outside. So they can do traffic stops, stop for alcohol. They can do everything. They investigate stolen stuff, trespassing, like everything. They are police officers. In fact, they can even go into the states and use anywhere the rail is, anywhere their property is. It's wild, and I think they're federally commissioned. It's very interesting because they go across Canada. What is this? Erkspun, I don't know how to pronounce your username, says, asking here because I can't. Oh, I can phrase better, more characters than on TikTok. As a medic, if I call police for someone failing to yield, is that an automatic ticket or does constable need to see the offense to charge them? So you're a paramedic, you're giving evidence, and based on your evidence, it would be an investigation. It wouldn't mean it's an absolute charge. They couldn't charge based on you. You don't have um, uh, for the offenses under traffic. They can't lay charges based on your statements. If it was a police officer, the officer who saw it could ask another police officer to lay the charges based on their information, and they would testify in court as an officer who has the authority to lay the charge and is trained as someone who can do that. Whereas you're a paramedic and you can't. Yeah, because you don't have the authority to lay the charge yourself. But it's possible if there was video evidence, if there was enough that you could identify who the person was, that it's possible that the officer might lay a charge, but not on automatic because they said so, which is unfortunate. I think there should be ways of doing it. Roscoe Ross says, ask a retired cop. He thinks I should change the show name. I'll tell you the reason it hasn't changed. My original thoughts were that I would do this and I would have guests from police agencies come on and I would be the host and I'd let them be the guest, still asking a current traffic cop. I have not had police officers who are available, permitted to speak on social media, available to speak on social media, or have the training know-how and ability to speak on the topics and have there's lots of people who's like, I know lots of stuff, but I'm not allowed to be on social media. Or I know lots of stuff, but my service has a no social media concept or rule set. So I have unintentionally continued the name without the officers that I had hoped to bring on the show to make more sense. But as a retired or former police officer, I'm still a traffic cop forever. Like I don't have the authority, and I'm clear about the fact that I'm no longer a police officer. But the show is a show name, not me as much as, yeah. You're right. Like when I'm on Jerry Agar, he says, it's ask a former cop. He updates it, and for good reason, because he wants to make sure that people understand that I'm no longer an active police officer, and that the show is what's called Ask a Traffic Cop. And so is the website. Everything is all Ask a Traffic Cop. And I do hope that we get some buy-in. I've got to reach out. I got a couple of emails from police services that do want to work together. So they're just out of they're just out of the area that I thought I'd be getting the interest in. In any case, I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to follow up on that. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. If someone see a UFO, what should they do? Do you want to be taken into custody and investigated? for your own protection. Most people who call in for UFOs aren't believed. I would assume. I've never had a UFO call, so I can't say for sure. But if you see something that could be, hopefully on your dash camera and you got evidence, because just saying you see flying saucers, you may not be taken seriously. And that's not because you didn't see what you saw. It's just you know a thing. Brandon says he's got to go. Coming back to Ontario soon, and we can connect. Good, good, good. Have a great night and a fantastic tomorrow. That's a message from Brandon, who always shares his messages for all. Ricky Sroy says if you're on a main road and you're in the left lane and you're doing the speed limit and a little more, or a little more, and someone is tailing you, are you obligated to move out of his way, or is it too bad for that tail? I think I got that straight. So if you are in the left lane and you are not the fastest moving vehicle, regardless of whether you have to or not, get out of their way. It's just courtesy. Let them be the dingleberry that gets pulled over up ahead of the road. And just don't make them make it an unsafe maneuver to get around you. If it's two lanes and you're the slower moving traffic, stay to the right. In fact, the law says you should be staying to the right for slower mover traffic. However, it's intended for people going below the speed limit. So if you're doing the speed limit, you're doing everything right, and the dingleberry wants to go faster, you shouldn't be speeding. And you shouldn't have to get out of the way for a dingleberry who wants to speed. But despite the fact that you are doing the right thing, do a little extra and get out of their way, because they're going to end up hurting somebody. And what happens with dingleberries when you get in their way and you upset them? They get very frustrated because they don't have good coping skills. It's probably one of the reasons they're thrill seeking by going fast or not being prepared enough to get there on time. So by getting out of their way, you're making the road safer. Yeah. Sarah, I can't see this. It's Sarah the Queen. I can't figure out how to pronounce the username. They say, "Hello, Sean. How have you been, sir? I've been great. Thanks for asking. I'm having a good old day and days. It's been good. I can't believe that I'm coming up on a year since I wore a uniform, which is wild to me." And they said, "All the best to you, Sean." They salute, and I'm sorry to say you probably left before I acknowledged your question or your comments. Apologies for that. Try and get people when they are watching, but it's in and out, happens. We've been live for 47 minutes. We got another 15 or 20 to go. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. So if you've got questions, that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to help you out. You can comment on my videos. You can ask questions by going to askatrafficcop.ca. Leave me a voicemail message. You can email me even. Links are all over the place. And you can ask in the live streams, which currently are Tuesday nights at 9 p.m., Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Although I didn't get to actually be here for the live stream last week on Wednesday. Something happened, and I had to do that instead. But you know what? I try and be here as much as possible. And my regular schedule was 5 days a week. I was doing 3 days daytime and two nights, which is where this whole After Dark was born. What do we got here? Oh, Roscoe Cross. What is he saying? Roscoe Cross says, but the cops can run a ghosted out cop car. There must be something that was automatically taken out of the stream for saying something that they weren't supposed to, according to TikTok, not me. But cops can run all sorts of things. Are you talking about ghosted out, like unmarked? Yeah. Are we supposed to give people who are breaking the law a warning that they're going to get caught so they don't break the law? Or do we catch them and teach them a lesson? This whole concept of signs that there'll be machines to catch you speeding up ahead being a responsible or requirement under law is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. It should not be. There should be no warnings. Don't break the law. You're going to get a surprise when you get caught. And we're not going to tell you where the cameras are, because all that does is has dingleberries go and cut them down and vandalize them and cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars in repair. Dingleberry is being overused today. It is. What do we got here? Floyd, how you doing? Mr. Steak, how are you? TK, Mark, Omega Man. Omega Man, there was a movie, The Omega Man, a long time ago. I have to watch it again now. The Board Repair Guy. Awesome. Good name. Toby and Glow and John Samuel Logistics. Lots of folks jumping in. Logan, how you doing? Wonder if it's the Logan that I'm talking about. Okay. Scrolling up here. Oh, okay, Sarah Hurt. Okay, very cool. Which officers can pull you over? City police, OPP, or the RCMP? Stephen, all police officers can pull you over. If they're in Ontario, if they're assigned to Ontario, all of them are gonna have the authority to pull you over. At the end of the day, if you see lights and sirens, pull over because they are police, and in fact, even if they're not police, if it's fire or paramedics, you have to pull over. That's the rules under the law. Okay, what do we have here? Am I able to turn on underglow when the car is stationary and in public space? That's from Ray. Yes, you can. In fact, you can technically run it on the road as long as the bulbs are invisible, projecting light directly, or in a color that would be prohibited. So you can't have red light to the front, as an example. If your glow was projecting light forward, that would be illegal. Don't do that. But if you're on private property or parks, have your fill your boots. Abdullah wants to know, what about lane splitting? I see bikers do it everywhere. Why can't I do it? That's illegal. For bikers, yes, it's illegal. Careless driving, stunt driving, criminal dangerous driving, depending on the observations the officer makes. It's just dumb and unsafe. I did it when I was riding motorcycle prior to becoming a police officer. I did it as a police officer in the lawful execution of my duties, although I did it at a safe speed differential. I did it for a lawful purpose as a police officer for the enforcement and getting to emergency calls. But when a squid on a sport bike is zipping through moving or stationary traffic to just get to the other side faster, and they're doing it in such a way that the police determine that it's unsafe. I mean, it's illegal, period. But whether a police officer determines it's worthy of interaction, they deserve, I think, criminal charges very often. Do they always get the criminal charges? No, but I've helped to find the body parts when they, collided with things that weren't moving. It's so dangerous. And people say, well, it's legal in the States. It's legal in 5 US states. The rest of the states, it's not legal. And it's not legal anywhere in Canada. And I've gone looking on the highway for feet and, other various parts after a rider, oopsie dude, because they thought that this was a good idea when it wasn't. Even in LA, if you look at the highway patrol in California, their website says, yeah, it's legal, but it's dangerous. Be careful. Speed differential is the key for them. But it's a bad day. It's a bad day at the office when things go wrong. Tom Joseph says, would a medical note make a difference as a per cancer recovery? Are we talking about tinted windows? It's up to the officer. It's discretion. It's not an exemption that is recognized or in law. So if you were to say, I have skin cancer, I need to have tinted windows, and I'm just speculating because you didn't specify what you're talking about here. If the officer said, cool, I'll give you a break, but it's still not legal, or you should buy a shirt that covers your skin, or wear suntan lotion or sunscreen, or there's tons of solutions. And I'm not trying to be insensitive, but at no point does tinting your windows make it safe. It just makes it less difficult on your skin or your eyes or what have you. Sunglasses are great if it's eye related. People say I'm sensitive to the sun, so buy sunglasses. You don't need to have the entire window tinted to prevent your sun reaction. There's UV filtering. Most vehicles, in fact, modern vehicles have UV. Tint is now just solar load. It's a different story. Anyway, hope that helps, although it might not. Josh Vader, what's going on, my friend? I saw you pumping to both platforms. Thank you so much. What do we hear? Star Wars fellow says, why don't taxi cabs get pulled over for reckless driving, such as speeding, rolling through stops? They do. They do a lot. Just because you didn't see the one in front of you doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Everyone seems to think that nothing happens to a certain group of people, like bus drivers. I've ticketed bus drivers. I've charged them for collisions. I've pulled them over for running through stop signs and red lights. And they're just drivers who get suspended when they get ticketed. I'll have you know. They get sent home. If you're a TTC driver and you get charged, bye-bye. You just finished your day. Carl Freeman, what's going on? Can cops pull me over for drinking a coffee while driving? That's Jimmy who wants to know. And the answer is, yeah, if the driving is is the drinking coffee causing you to be dangerous on the road. If it's interfering with your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle, pulling you over for it is absolutely reasonable in Ontario, and it's actually distracted driving in other provinces like British Columbia. Josh Vader says, when I dropped the lid on my water. Oh, well. Josh Vader says, when I'm driving and someone is very close on my back bumper, how close is too close to have a cop pull them over? I've had many people get so close when driving at the speed limit. It's up to the officer. They have to make observations and determine that it's too close. There's no specific, I mean, I know that for me, if you're off my bumper, if you're less than a car length, to me, that's too close. And I, oddly enough, slow down. I don't hit the brakes. I don't brake check them. That would be stunt driving. But I slowly let off the gas. And that causes them to let off their gas or they're going to hit me. And that's their fault. I'm not suggesting you do things to cause collisions. I'm saying that if someone's riding your ass, slow down. It should have a negative. You should not, in my opinion, you should not hit the gas and start breaking the law yourself to make that person unhappy. It's a them problem. Yeah. Sully, what's going on? Sully says, do you have an online guide for people to know their rights during police encounters? I don't have an online guide for it. I mean, here's the deal. Your rights. Are you guilty? Like, I've never had a situation where someone's rights were put into jeopardy. As a police officer, when I pulled you over, I said, hi, I pulled you over because you did this dumb thing. That's why I pulled you over. I need your license, ownership, and insurance. Here's your ticket or here's your warning. And like, what rights are we violating? I'm sure someone somewhere was offended by being pulled over and started looking up, you can't talk to me this way. I don't have to give you my dog. And that may not be you. I'm just saying, I don't understand the issue. You're driving a regulated vehicle. You're obligated to surrender your license, ownership, and insurance. Beyond that, there's nothing you really have to communicate, except you have to comply with lawful demands otherwise. But the officer's going to tell you that. Police in Canada are of the highest quality in the world. More training than anywhere else, as far as I'm concerned. And customer service is number one. It really is, whether you realize it or not. And when someone pulls you over, they're going to tell you everything, and it's all recorded. So there's nobody trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. There's no special magic, nothing. There's no quotas, and there's no, bonus for being a prick. They just want to go and do their job and move on. So I don't know, but there's no guide that I'm aware of. You talk to a lawyer. I am not a lawyer. I'm not the person who defends people. I am the person who you liked and liked, not just because I like seeing people held accountable for dangerous crap because I want to make the road safer. I liked it because I got to meet a lot of cool people. And sometimes I got tickets, but I got to meet a lot of people. Kelly says, age restriction for person in front seat of car. My son is 11, 61 inches, and about 60 pounds. Hard no, question mark. So based on Ontario law, and I'm going to give you Ontario's because I don't know this one for each jurisdiction, 80 pounds, 4'9", or 8 years old. 80, 4'9", 8 years old, 80 pounds, 4'9". Any one of those on their own is enough to allow them to be legal without a seatbelt. Now, in terms of front seat, there's no law for it. Now, if they're a toddler in the front seat and too close to an airbag, there's some legislation there. But it is lawful. I would say 14 years old, backseat till 14 is what is suggested by everyone who is somebody to listen to in the industry. Question is this YouTube? This is social media. The primary, the number one source of people watching is TikTok. We happen to be also broadcasting on Instagram, YouTube, X, LinkedIn. We're on all of them, because we're wherever you are. Sort of. We're not on Twitch right now. Some people are on Twitch, not many. What's the ticket for that? Unfortunately, I don't know. This might have been like 10, 15 minutes ago when you asked, and I don't know what you're asking about, so it's no longer in context. Caveman Core 67 says, if two people are negligently speeding, which one do you pull over? The luckier one? Because the lucky ones get caught. change their behavior, maybe live to see another day. The other person might get away with it, end up wrapping it around a pole and not being so lucky. The lucky one gets tickets. But it could be random. It could be the one closest. It could be the one that complies faster. It could be the one that doesn't comply. There's no up to the officer. Up to the officer. Big Man 98 says, "What up, Sean?" And then says, "Sure, it's Gal," but I don't know what they're talking about. Lights go on. They record 30 seconds before. Yes, for cameras, when the lights go on, they trigger. G-forces, they trigger, and it is constantly recording. So, yeah, you get the last 30 seconds. Same thing with body cameras. And now they've got technology that if you draw your firearm, it automatically starts things going on. And I don't know if that's all services or who has what, but that's technology that's available now. And Tuber says, "Respect all the good cops in Canada." I think they're all good cops. I don't know. Oh, well, they're okay. I say that, and then obviously there are some jackasses wearing badges that shouldn't, and those are bad cops. And nobody dislikes a bad cop more than a good cop. Like the good cops don't like bad cops, kind of a thing. Um, so I know underglow is kind of a gray area, but in Ontario, as long as the lights are pointed down, facing the road, and the lights aren't flashing red or blue, am I good? This is Josh Fader asking. And this is something that's come up many times in the past. If you are projecting light forward, backwards, or to the sides of certain colors, it's illegal. So red to the front, anything other white to the back would be illegal. But the question is whether or not you're projecting. Now, this is something where I never saw eye to eye with Sergeant Murray Campbell. He was often on the show with me when I was still with the Toronto Police. And he said, "If I see the light, you're projecting it at me." And I said, "No. If you are projecting the light, that means the source of the light or a reflector is pointing in your direction, and you are casting the light in your direction, casting it intentionally. Reflected light is not something you're responsible for, in my opinion, unless it's off a reflector directing the light, like a headlamp system. So, in my opinion, which is the one that matters right now, is that if your lights are mounted high up in the undercarriage of the car, and the only light that an officer is observing is reflected off the ground, that is not illegal. It's all about the installation. And I would argue that in court. It is not illegal to reflect light off of a surface that is not your car and it be visible to somebody else. That is not illegal. And I think that any law person interpreting the law, being a person on the bench, being a justice of the peace or judge, would agree with me because I make a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, let's move it on. Let's move it on. What do we got? We got that one. Deshaun says, "Sean, you're not a cop anymore?" No, it's been almost a year, which is wild. It's such a mind. I was going to say something and I'm not now, but it's weird. I still can't figure. Like I can't. It's not. I'll always be a cop at heart. So my colleagues, like it's not just a job. You're a cop for life, and I would still run to assist any of anyone. And actually, I had a situation today. Tell you the story. A guy who I assume is mental health and homeless walks into a restaurant where I'm at, and I know the owner, and I watch him, and I'm like, I know this guy's going to be a thing. It's either going to be a theft or something. He's singing, he's bopping, and maybe on drugs. Comes in and takes a Diet Coke out of the fridge and basically walks out. Has a couple of words with the woman behind the counter, and then steals a Diet Coke. And two things popped into my mind. First of all, the cop brain goes off, and I go, I got to stop this guy. He's a criminal. And the next phase is, I'm not a cop anymore. But that is two things. One, I know the owner, so I can act on the behalf of my friend who's the owner of the restaurant, and I could represent him, and he has the authority to make an arrest, so I could make an arrest. But we're talking about a quarter. Is it a good thing to end up in a fight with a guy who probably has a number of communicable things going on for $1? Where I know that as a police officer, I wouldn't have laid charges anyway. I would trespass that person from the property, say, "Don't come back," but I wouldn't have arrested him. Even then, like, it's not worth the time. You want to hold them accountable, but a quarter, someone gets hurt, and yeah. So no, I forgot how I started this dialogue, but yeah, it's a thing. Hillary Lockhart says, I think I've seen you in Diamond and Diamond videos. Yes, you have. I go onto their podcast on a regular basis. And I am actually, the show is sponsored by Diamond and Diamond. Diamond and Diamond has seen the value that we're trying to put out there in traffic safety. And they are contributing to the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Safety and Education, which is the not-for-profit organization I created when I left the Toronto Police Service, and which is paying and hosting for this. They're paying and hosting. They're all helping. It's all big one big happy thing. They're sponsors. It's amazing. Oh, Melody, congratulations. Melody won 24-11 at baseball tonight. Congratulations to you and your team. Okay. Big Men 98, Old City OCJ misses him in court. The Ontario Court of Justice misses me in court. I miss going to court. I really enjoyed testifying. You know, it's funny. Giving me a stage to speak, that was never a problem. I remember people, coppers coming to me and saying, do you want to leave the courtroom before you testify? Because I know it can be stressful. I'm like, dude, no, I'm cool. This is I good, bad. It was all good. It really if I screwed up, I learned from it. If I did well, okay, I did well. It was one for the book. I didn't keep score. I just enjoyed telling the truth on the stand and trying to become the best communicator I could be. So the more you do it, the better you are at it. And that's why so many cops that start off as traffic cops or have a lot of traffic experience become homicide detectives or really, really good on the stand because they get a lot of experience and they for lack of for lack of a better term, knock the cobwebs out on a regular basis. I didn't think I'd quote anything that came out of a cowboy hat wearing ladies repertoire. Yeah. Okay. But do what do we got here? Furda boys. Is it still a law that cops have something on their vehicles to mark that it's police? What? What are you talking about? Cops have to have something on their vehicles to mark that it's police? I'm not picking up what you're putting down, my friend. Do you mean that all police vehicles have to be marked? No, they don't. I don't think now they have to be marked vehicles with 360-degree lighting to take advantage of of traffic clearing to get through an intersection. That's a thing. Abdullah says, I don't think he reads his chat at all. I've read like a dozen of your, well, I'd say a dozen. I think I've read 3 of your comments so far. So either you're popping in and out and you're not paying attention when I'm actually reading your stuff, but I'm definitely reading from here. I talked about your lane splitting stuff in a while ago. Talked about this. Okay, let me scroll up here. Oh, I talked about a bunch of stuff here. Okay. Are muffler deletes illegal? Yes, they are illegal. E-muffler is required. So is a resonator. So is a catalytic converter. Although I know there's a couple of vehicles that have no mufflers, but they have turbos and they have resonators and they're designed that way. And based on the displacement, they don't need them. And I don't get it. But there's a couple of vehicles that come from factory without mufflers, which I think is strange. One of them is that itty bitty, I don't even know what it's called. Itty bitty Fiat. I think of the Fiat is one of them. And I think there's also, I can't remember the other one, but I know it's something. Yes. Muffler noise is a ticket. Big Man 98 says so. It's true. I stole a phone call. Okay. Greg sent a gift. Thank you. John Samuel sends gift. Thank you. Erie Earl the Pearl sent gifts. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Shia share. Oh, we got a bunch of people who shared. Thank you so much for everyone who shared the live. That guy Ed says, hey, how's it going? It's going well, Ed. Thanks for asking. Thoughts on HOV lanes? Accidents all the time. Collisions in HOV lanes are likely due to the speed differential and the abuse of the lane. It is not the go fast lane. It is a lane that is intended to pass slow moving traffic at a slow or low differential. So if everyone stopped, you shouldn't be doing more than 30 kilometers an hour in the HOV. But people don't do that. People do 110, 120 in the HOV, despite the fact that the traffic to their right is stopped dead in their tracks. And what happens is some, dum-dum decides to cross the hash lines or the solid lines to get into the HOV lane because, gosh darn it, they got to get somewhere. And what do? They end up getting the bullet train, the person who's going 100 right past them. They just take them out, and those very often lead or result in tragedy. But I think HOV lanes are a great concept. Use them all the time. It's the reason I had children. Just saying. Eric says, "Hey Medicare." Oh, we got that. Wait. Hey Medicare, if we got our dispatch to tell you to or I fail to yield, does a driver get charged? Or fail to? I thought you were talking about speeding earlier because Eric came over onto the YouTube side. Um, fail to yield. See, generally speaking, I've never had a situation where it came over to the phone. I would have wanted to see that to lay the charge. I don't think, unless you had video running, I don't think you'd be able to lay the charge. You have to be able to identify the driver. You could reach out and touch someone with a letter or a phone call or a visit to educate them. That's it. What's the biggest charge in all your years of policing? Biggest charge? Like biggest investigation or biggest thing I specifically laid? I don't know. I mean, I've been to homicides. I've never laid the charges for the homicide. Ba, ba, ba. Yes, Big Man 98. I still gotta give you that call. It's funny. I knew exactly who you were, even though you changed your name. And I do have to give you the call. My apologies for not following up. Adib wants to know what my thoughts are on politics. No, this is a traffic channel. Canadian goalie. So any normal road rules, but okay, we're talking about that's the real question. They're having some dialogue amongst themselves. Can we see your resume when you applied for police? No. Mind you, you can go to my LinkedIn and see everything about me. It's all posted there. But I'm not like holding up sheets of paper. But there's not much secret there. I applied for policing, not having been a police officer. Now, as a police officer, I was already when I applied for policing, I'd already been like as a police officer, I'd already been for a number of years a court officer. When I applied for court officer, I'd already been a volunteer, an auxiliary officer, which is, by the way, a fantastic volunteer opportunity if you're interested in such things. Going around train barriers, what's the fine? Does train cops give out the ticket? Any cops give out that ticket. It's a stupid thing to do. Even if the lights are flashing, even if the arms are not down, it's against the law. And it used to be an $800 ticket, I think. And everyone who does anything close to the railway tracks and gets charged should be charged for everything available. Are third brake lights that flash for 5 seconds then go solid legal? There's some arguments about this. I thought the intermittent flashes of red light would make it illegal, but it's not intermittent. It's a solid, it's 5 flashes and solid. I would argue that they're legal. Others may disagree. Um, I think they're really great for safety. I had them on my motorcycle. My motorcycle they flashed and then and went solid. So I think they're good. And I don't think they're illegal. I think they're incredibly annoying to be behind if someone's like tapping the brakes because they don't stop flashing. But it's not intermittent. Intermittent is sporadic, which can be people could say it's a police light. No one's going to think that. I don't think so. Let's see here. 4 kids in a Porsche. Long time no see. Have you ever given the lamest ticket a cop can issue? License plate cover. Guarantee 50% of cops have them in their personal cars. I've given out license plate covers when they've obscured the license plate. Yes. I gave one woman a license plate cover charge because I pulled her over to tell her to take it off as a warning. And she was so stupid and rude and started telling me about my job and how I'm doing everything wrong by pulling her over and wasting her time. She got the ticket instead of the warning that I intended. You can talk, stupid people can talk themselves into a ticket. And I mean that with all reasonable respect. Some people don't know well enough to keep their mouths shut. You don't argue with the cop at the side of the road. I went there to be a nice guy. I pulled her over. I said, I can't read your plate. I was going to give you a warning. And before I could even get that point out where I was like, I'm just coming to give you a warning, she was so rude. She got a ticket and she earned it. Boy, you dredged up all sorts of emotions. But I appreciate you finding your way back to the channel and participating. But I don't think that's the lamest ticket. The lamest ticket is failing to sign your ownership in ink. That's the lamest ticket. And you got to be a real dick to get that. Okay. Ah. Four kids in a Porsche does not like HOV lanes. Very good to know. What's the fine for crossing a solid line? In Ontario, there is no fine, unless you cause a collision, and that's a bad day. But there's no specific fine for crossing a solid line in Ontario because it's not a specific law. Da, 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 da. Zach says railway cops are federally mandated. Whoever thinks their jurisdiction ends is mistaken. I don't know. My friends who are railway cops seem to think their jurisdiction is limited to 500 meters from their property. It could go into other countries, like into the States. It can go across the border, but 500 meters from their property. And that's them telling me that. So if I'm mistaken, it's based on the railway cops telling me so. We got here. DK McLean 97 says, Sean, how's retirement treating you? Love listening to your input. TPS and TSV must be missing you. I miss them and they miss me, and it's a big mushy family thing. I got a chance. I went to breakfast with a friend of mine from Motor Squad on Friday of last week, and it was fantastic. It's really good to catch up with friends. We communicate regularly, so I feel, you know, there, but I miss being there every day. Not so much that I'm going back, but I do miss them. And it's so weird. So weird not being with them anymore. Him says, you're back, man. I am. I've never really went anywhere other than the fact that I've made this less frequent. Colin Spence 19 says, can you answer other questions other than traffic? 3D printing, drones, firearms, laser cutters. What do you want to talk about? I mean, other cop stuff too. Yeah, we can talk about anything, but within reason. I try not to play outside of my area of expertise because I don't know everything. So if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. FaceCon says, this past weekend I was on the 427 right lane. Some car went from exiting, drove all the way back. I'm not picking up what you're putting down, my brother. Past weekend I was on the 427 right lane. Some car went from exiting, drove all the way. I don't get the all the way back part. Okay. Are they at fault? Greg, what's going on? I see Greg. Paul says, Zach, they're just very rare and hardly seen. Talked about lots. Okay. Farhan says, I have a question. If you have a G1 and you get a G2, so now time resets again for full G? No, you have 5 years. So, okay. You have 5 years when you get your G1 to complete the entire process under one renewal. You have 12 months before you're eligible to get your G2 unless you took professional training, and then it gets reduced to 8 months. Once you get your G2, you, I believe, have to wait a year as a G2 before you're eligible to write for a G. But there's no time resetting. You have, unless you're talking about becoming a qualified driver to supervise a a G1 driver, then yes, the time starts at G2 issuance, assuming no interruptions. And don't assume that because you have 4 years, on the books, according to you, that you have 4 years on the books, according to the Ministry of Transportation, because if you were ever suspended, they would not include that time. Okay. Carmen San Diego wants to know, Sean, dash cams, yes or no, and why? So, from a police perspective, as a dad, as a personal driver, yes, and yes. Dash cams all the time, always. Now, lawyers might tell you, you may capture yourself doing something unlawful and it may work against you. Yeah, that's true. If you do something stupid while you are being recorded, that evidence could be entered and could support the other side. However, 9 times out of 10, assuming you do the right thing, you're going to capture somebody else doing the wrong thing. Sometimes that wrong thing could make some great social media. Sometimes that wrong thing could end up saving you a ton of money, because if they cause the collision but there's no witness and it looks like it was your fault by every other metric, but the camera defends you, that camera was worth its weight in gold. 100%. Sergeant Murray Campbell tells the story all the time. He was pulling into the police station parking lot. The guy in front of him at the police private parking entrance, secure parking lot, starts backing up and hits him. Backing up in front of a police station, hits him. Sergeant Campbell was on the horn. The guy didn't stop and crunch. He calls insurance. Insurance. Oh, okay. I'll tell you the backstory in a second, but calls insurance. Insurance says you're going to have to pay the deductible. He says, but I have a camera. And that camera exonerated him and immediately made the other person at fault and immediately made it so he didn't have to pay a deductible. It was entirely the other person's fault. Now, why did this guy back up and not hear him? It's because he was deaf. True story. All right. We saw that. We saw this. Center light in the car is on. You pulling over? Center light. This is Maison Poirier. I don't know what your question is. How do I report a driver is using his cell phone while driving? You can call police if you think that person is such a risk to the immediate safety of the people around that it's a 911 call. Here's the deal. If that person is not all over the road, if they're just using their phone, it just focus on driving your own car. And I say that because by the time police get the call, if there's a call available, if they get there in time, they probably won't be on the phone at the time that they get there, and there'll be nothing to lay. So you will have wasted 911 time. Police, it's not worth it. They'll get their own. You worry about you. If they're all over the road, they're running onto the side of the road. I called in a guy that I thought was impaired. Turns out he was just on a cell phone and he was tired. You have to make your own decision. If it's really, really, really scary to see this guy on the road, then call the police. What was this? Second Amendment. We're in Canada. Do cops stop crime or do they just catch people after the crime is committed? Depends. Big Man 98 says, cops to serve and protect is a TPS motto. Absolutely. Bill says, hey, Sean, love the live shows. Keep up the great work. Thanks very much, Bill. Devon the Wrangler says, hi, Sean. Hi, Devon. Mustafa says, I got pulled over a couple of days ago with no insurance, G1 driver and fake license plate. I got 3 tickets. You're lucky you didn't get arrested. I will let you know that you might do some jail time. Just maybe. Because that no insurance is a $5,000 to $25,000 range on the first conviction. It is up to 6 months in jail as well. So, fake license plate, you're a winner, man. Like, don't that. Why? How? Why would you even admit that? You can't. First of all, I don't believe you now because you said, should I pay the fine or choose trial? Well, if you got no insurance, that's a part 3, a 104. Go directly to court. You're full of it, Mustafa. You did not get that ticket because there is no option to pay. You got a court date if you had an insurance charge. Just saying. It's not what you've described is false. And yes, Melody says, Mustafa, you deserve the tickets for doing that. But Mustafa didn't get those tickets. He's just saying it. And then DK McLean says, trial Mustafa, but come on, man. What are you doing? Mustafa, yeah. Somebody else says, just give the car away, little bro. Let's see here. Take the points and say, I don't think there's much you can do. I don't think there's a court in the world that would say, not only did you have no insurance, not only did you not have a license, but you had fake license plates. The mens rea here, the fact that you planned this and then got on the road is so aggravating. Like I gotta apply to become a justice of the peace. That's what I need to be doing. I need to be the trier of fact. Let's see here. What we got. But yes, I mean you're gonna have to go. You'd have to go. All right. Scrolling. Tell the JP the truth is right. Be honest, but I don't think that there's a lot of truth there. Okay. And yes, and big man, we got to get you on the show if you're allowed to speak freely. And yeah. What are the rules on driving with an IDP specifically for insurance requirements? IDP is an international driver's permit. If you are a visitor to this country, that is the only time that an IDP is really going to be a thing, because if you are a resident here, you are no longer eligible to be using your foreign license. At least once you become a resident, you have 60 days to apply for a local license. And frankly, an IDP really doesn't kick in unless your license is in a foreign language, or if you're staying as a visitor over 6 months. So that's a thing. Oh, 82S10 Sports says, should I take it as a compliment if a cop said my truck sounds nice when it's straight pipe? Yeah, I would. Listen, not every cop cares about pipes, even though it's against the law. Some of them just don't care. Syntaxer says, is there any ticket for crossing a solid OPP handing out? What is this? Crossing a solid OPP? Oh, solid line. OPP handing him out on the 404, crossing over the line to, okay. If you are crossing off the roadway, okay. Let me break it down. A line on the road signifies a division of lane. As long as it's between lanes, solid or not solid is irrelevant. If you're crossing onto a shoulder or over a bullnose, that is off the roadway, and that is a different charge. You're not crossing the line. The ticket's not for the line. You're crossing off the roadway, and that is illegal. If you're crossing into the what's it called? If you're crossing into the 407, why am I calling it? If you're crossing into the HOV, that's what I meant to say. Well, the HOV lane has signs every 150 meters that say that you cannot cross the solid lines with the hash mark in between and another solid line. That is a disobey sign charge. And if you don't qualify to be in the HOV lane altogether, that is another misuse of that lane. So there's a whole bunch of charges they could lay for that. So it's not the line that they're laying at all. Four Kids in a Porsche says, are you a fan of the OPP mandatory alcohol testing for every stop? Too much. Guilty until prove your innocence for me, and the end justifies the means. I'm a big fan of mandatory alcohol screening. I think it's great. I think it should be deployed because they catch all sorts of impaired drivers that way, and drivers who are over the legal limit. However, it's not a thing I think needs to be done every time. I think an officer can make that decision on a one-by-one basis. Either you have suspicion or you're employing mandatory alcohol screening because you're going to do it on every third car because that's just a way to continuously do it. It is a good practice to do. It does not take a tremendous amount of time, and they've streamlined the process, so it's pretty quick. It is supported by law, and it's done like all over the world. You look at Australia; they will stop an entire road and test everybody, and they pull people off the road all the time, or they dissuade people from actually drinking and driving, which is what the goal is. If your chances of getting pulled over and tested are so slim that it never happens, then people take chances. It's like why people speed. There's so few cops on the road. You're probably not going to get caught unless it's an automated enforcement ticket, and then nobody's really going to do anything since it's a cash to play ticket, right? There's no consequence. But if every time the OPP catches you for anything, pulls you over for anything, they test you, that's increasing the chances of going to jail. And that is a real risk. And that might change behavior. So while I appreciate that it is a negative impact on the average person's life, it's not something that's fun. It is annoying at best. But if it makes the road safer, if it saves lives, I'm all for it. That's my whole thing. That's my whole thing. But I totally appreciate where people don't think it's fair. Yeah. What else was I gonna say about that? There was something else. Yeah, I don't know. If I think about it, I'll come back to it. Boy, I've gone longer than I thought. I'm 30 minutes over. I was gonna do an hour only, but now I've done an hour and a half, so I gotta wrap this up. Do you need a signal to go onto the highway on-ramp? Most people don't. Do you need the signal to go onto you need the signal if you're changing lanes. If you're already in the ramp or, so if you're changing into the on-ramp then just takes you up. Well, to enter the on-ramp, you should have signaled. You're responsible to signal any movement of a motor vehicle that could affect any other road user, even if that's a pedestrian. You got to signal. Is a flippable plate illegal if I ion flip it? I don't know what ion flip it is. That's Nimmer G who wants to know. And the answer is if you are flipping your plate and making the plate not readable, it's illegal. If you don't flip the plate but have the ability to flip it like when you're at a car show, as long as you're displaying your plates as per regulation while you're on the road, you're fine. If you flip them when you're parked, it's really not an issue. Unless you're putting another plate that's not associated to that vehicle because you could end up getting charges. There's charges. But if you're at a car show, I get why you're flipping it. Oh, here's one of my favorite arguments. I'm so glad I stayed on long to go to this. Cyrillic. They said, why should I obey speed laws if they're based on old cars from the 80s? And that's where people just don't understand that old cars from the 80s are still on the road. And the speed limits that were originally reduced to accommodate the gas shortage and being more economical and speed kills. People speed. And if you speed, you deserve to get the book thrown at you because it's unsafe. And there's a reason we have so many collisions and so many fatalities on the road. And it's primarily speed. The slower you go, the less impact, the less injury, the less damage is caused. But at the end of the time, just the risk of getting into a collision is reduced if you don't speed. People don't want to admit it. People try and make these arguments, but that's not a law I want to follow. So I'm just not going to do it. No, that's not an intelligent argument. I know you've determined it is, but it's not. Science disagrees with you. And the only reason our fatalities aren't through the roof is because medical just marvels. The magical people, doctors and paramedics and firefighters and all the people who get you out of that vehicle in a crash, not to mention all the sciency impact absorbing materials that are in the modern cars. But you know what? You know what doesn't have all that magical impact resistant stuff and shock absorbing material? Humans, like the ones that are getting killed on our roads, the pedestrians that are overrepresented in collision fatalities. Speeding's dumb. There's no other way to put it. You want to go fast, take it to the track. Okay. Mr. Steak says hello, sir. Floyd Lightman says, long time I've been out of commission. Baruch Hashem on the recovering. I think that's what the BH was in a statement. Let's see here. Pearl, thanks. Hey, a squid. He likes that. Police flagged themselves on Waze Google to encourage safer driving. Well done. The board repair guy. It's funny. If they're doing enforcement, I say they're not there. If they're doing work, like they're actually trying to work at a collision, if they're trying to do something and they're working on the road, I would flag them as there. Sun Tzu, excellent book. Sun Tzu, Art of War. Anyway, they said, hey, sir, I have a question. If someone's going straight and get in an accident with a guy who is turning left, who's at fault? Generally speaking, the person who's turning is at fault, but it depends. There's that's almost like 99.99% of the time the person turning is going to be at fault, but every situation is unique. Okay. I'm scrolling because I'm way over time. User lots of numbers says, think it's past your bedtime. It is. Can someone with an international driver's license purchase and register a vehicle in Ontario? You're not required to have a license to purchase a vehicle. So yes, but if you have an international driver's license, you're purchasing a vehicle, you are likely a resident. And then your international driver's license isn't going to be valid as a driver. After 30 days, actually, after 60 days, you have to have an Ontario license. If you move here, even to be a student, even to go to school, after 60 days, you're a resident. You got to get a license. Different in Quebec, but that's the way it is in Ontario. DJ Miller says, why do cops get off easy when caught off duty? DUI. I don't think they got off easy. I think a lot of them have to go through exactly what you have to do. In fact, I think civilians are getting their DUIs reduced to careless driving charges. And the cops that I've met who have been caught are doing hard time. Now I say hard time. They're getting no breaks. No breaks. They're desk duty. Not only are they desk duty, they're being charged and convicted. Why is the legal driving age 16 and not higher or lower? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's 14 in BC to get your learner's permit, which I'm thankful it's not, because I don't think 16 is necessarily the best age. And I was driving from the day I turned 16. Cold Laker says, hello, Shauner, you're awesome. Thank you, Cold Laker. Good to see you. Asim says, unless responding to a call, don't know what we're talking about. We appreciate you and all those who serve. Thank you. That's the board repair guy. There's no way you believe we have the best police. That's user lots of numbers. I'm telling you, without question, we're of the best police in the world. We're world renowned. You can disagree, but you have not seen the police internationally. And I'm part of international policing organizations still. Okay. What about the driver? Are they allowed to record? Sure, everyone can record. You can't not interact with police because you're busy recording. Like you can't refuse because you got your camera and you're taking pictures. No, you have to comply. You can have the camera running. You get copies of all our camera stuff too. It's not like we're trying to hide anything. Can you legally change lanes in a I hate roundabout. I hate roundabouts. Yeah, I mean, if there are some roundabouts you have to change lanes, otherwise you can just keep going around the round. I hate roundabouts. I didn't grow up with roundabouts. I don't get roundabouts. The roundabouts I'm familiar with are not multi-lane roundabouts. The ones in Europe make my head hurt. Epitome 376 says, "Hey Sean, love that you're still doing this. Could you please talk about motorcycles and lane splitting? Already did earlier in the show. If you go to Voiceover Cop on YouTube, you can watch the earlier part of the show and catch that. I talked about it. It's illegal. It's illegal in Canada and it's illegal across the United States, except for 5 U.S. states, Hawaii and California being 2 of them. I think Ohio might be the other one. I really got to go. I love it when people come on and say really dumb stuff, but you have to know the dumb stuff that I'm talking about. I think one of the moderators, I have a couple who may have stopped this person, but what a funny thing. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, they didn't. So I need to first mute, then block. Can I still report? Report. Boom, boom, boom. Hate speech. Love the haters. Though, like the actual haters. They're gone. Okay. I skipped a bunch of stuff. Differences between sheriffs and police. It's an American thing generally because sheriffs in Canada are very different. But sheriffs are state. Sorry, state police are state. Sheriffs are county. Police are generally city. It's jurisdictional boundaries. And sheriffs generally handle jails. But that's an American thing. We really don't have sheriffs here. Can cops arrest you, pull your plates, or take your vehicle for fix-it tickets? Fix-it tickets? We don't do fix-it tickets. So it sounds American to me. Maybe other jurisdictions. Why don't you become an ICE agent? Because I'm in Canada. They don't have ICE agents. What's your opinion with Derek Chauvin? With what Derek Chauvin did? Why do people want to go into a race conversation? First of all, what did Derek Chauvin do? Like, I'm very familiar with the case. I'm not going to get into it here. I don't know if TPS officers are Fishery Act designated. I doubt it. Kyle says, "Wait, no insurance is $5,000 to $25,000 fine. Am I missing something? Don't forget the up to 6 months in jail." What's the hot take? What's a hot take on riding motorcycles? I love riding motorcycles. I was a motor officer. Okay. Tony wants to know if I left Toronto Police or I retired. I did. I left at the end of August last year. Oh, I just saw Tracy. How you doing, Tracy? Does he take TikTok questions? No. Yes, I do, Ali. Of course I do. I'm just way behind, and I am wrapping up. Someone drives after Listerine mouthwash. Someone drives after Listerine mouthwash and gets alcohol testing. We wait 15 minutes. Residual mouth alcohol isn't a thing. If you said I ate something, smoked something, chewed something, brushed my teeth, flossed, when you tell me within 15 minutes, it could affect your thing. But we wait until mouth alcohol is gone, and that's only for the roadside screening test. Then you are going to go to the police station and perform 2 more tests with a qualified breath technician. It's going to be an hour. You're going to have no mouthwash to impact unless you drank the bottle of mouthwash, but then you're under the influence of alcohol potentially. So yeah, no, that's not an issue. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Do we still have motorcycle police in Ontario? Absolutely, we do. Motor Squad is in full effect. They've actually grown. They've gone BMW in addition to the Harleys that they have. Just a phenomenal group. We have the best motor squad. Yes. Hey, Sean, I have a panel interview coming up next week. Any advice for aspiring police officer? Charles, reach out to me, DM me. Happy to chat with you. I got to go though, but just be honest, tell the truth, have a bunch of stories that like real life stories that tell the story that they want to hear. If they want to know about a time in your life that you dealt with confrontation, make sure you got some options. And if they stop you and say, no, we're going somewhere else. I want to hear another story. Be ready with others. Don't have one. Just get really comfortable. Make sure you are honest because they call and ask people who were named in that story to find out if you were actually in that story. Undercover police standing at a stop sign waiting to catch. What's wrong with that? I'm not sure what the question is. That's hustling immigrants. I'm assuming based on your, I don't know if you're saying you're an immigrant who's hustling in a positive way, or if you're suggesting that someone's hustling immigrants in a negative way. I don't know how to take your based on your questions. I don't know. I don't know. What are the laws on tinted windows on a vehicle? You shouldn't have tinted windows. Hire e-bikes with pedals illegal. E-bikes must have pedals to be legal. Lots of information on e-bikes. We can talk about that another time. In fact, I am calling it. I got to go to bed. I got to do this again at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're going to do another live stream, 10 a.m. Eastern time. I will be here. Will you? If you've got questions, I've got answers. If you can't be here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, I would suggest you go online to askatrafficop.com or .ca, both of them work, and hit the button on the side of the page. What does that do? Well, I'll show you. This is where we're gonna ask a traffic cop right here. Oops. Ask a traffic. There we go. Ask a traffic cop.ca. Let me show you. Here we go. You go to the page. And when you go to the page, there's a send voicemail button. And you click on it. Look at that. Start recording. You hit the button, you record a message, it goes to me. I respond in a message. And I might make that dialogue part of an upcoming video or use it on a live stream. So if you've got a question you want to share and be part of the show, that's how you do it. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I went a lot longer than I thought I would. Usually this is an hour. Actually, I say usually it's an hour. Usually it's like 2 hours, but I'm trying to get to the hour mark, working backwards. And I got to go. So have a great night. Drive safe, drive sober, park legally. Otherwise, Erin Urquhart from Toronto Police will be after you. She's a machine. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Love doing this. My name is Sean Shapiro. If you don't already follow me here. Follow me on whatever platform you're on, but follow me on TikTok. Follow me on YouTube. Most importantly, Voiceover Cop there, trying to get to 1,000 followers, so we can continue to make more content. And if you want to support, if you believe in what I do and you want to support, would love to have your support financially. You can go to Ask a Traffic Cop there. You can either make a PayPal donation. You can go to Buy Me a Coffee, which is really going to Better Traffic, the Canadian Organization for Better Traffic Safety and Education. If you know a corporate sponsor who might want to help fund the work we're doing to educate and make roads safer for everybody, well, let me know. You know how to get a hold of me. Askatrafficop.ca. Have a great day. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.